Very good morning once again. So let's move on to the next session. So in this session, we have very reputed, I would say, or very successful three panelists among us. And I'm very pleased to see that we can see the women leadership in these sectors. So thank you all again to attend this seminar, I would say. So let's start with our agenda today. So at the beginning, I would like to share some points on GIZ Skills for SC project. In this project, we are trying to create an environment where we have skilled workforce in renewable energy and energy efficiency in Bangladesh. So if I talk about renewable energy and energy efficiency, it's a very new concept in Bangladesh. If we consider that the certified workforce, then the number of certified technicians is very less in our country. So we are closely working with National Skill Development Authority. We are closely working with Shreda Power Division to create a culture where technicians will come out from the reputed organization like National Skill Development Authority in the technical training centers, and they get jobs in the market. So in this regard, we have already prepared two competency standard on solar occupation and one on boiler maintenance, but still the challenges are there. So right now at the beginning, I would like to directly go to our ILO representative, Ms. Mashreka, and I would like to know about your experience that what type of ILO programs and initiatives are now currently supporting the shaping of green energy transition of Bangladesh, and how can greater efforts help cultivate more women leaders in this space?
Thank you so much, Tanvir Bhai, and of course to GIZ for including us in this panel and this discussion overall. So the question is what ILO is doing to green energy transition, right? So you would know that ILO works in a tripartite model. So we have an established relationship with the employers, the workers, and the government. Through that dynamics, we actually channel our efforts. So when it comes to the green transition, or in the ILO language, we say just transition. So it's not just environmental aspect, but also the human capability of it. We started work, I think, in this space in Bangladesh back in 2008 when we started the TVET reform project. So starting the legacy from the consortium that was built with the Asian countries, ILO started to kind of channel this idea within the constituents in Bangladesh that it's not just the sectoral reform, but also to touch upon on the systematic strengthening of the government, but also the private sector through the employers and workers' engagement. Starting from that, we intensified our efforts in the solar panel. We worked with the Gramin Shakti in terms of how to make it safer for women through safe cooking, options, particularly by promoting solar energy. So that was back in 10, 15 years ago. And taking from there, at this stage now, what we are trying to do is, first of all, if we identify sectors, say skills, since I know that GIZ and also your project actually works focused on the skills sector. So we have this green action plan under the DTE with particular institutes where we kind of identified that how the TVET institutions, not just through knowledge, but also through operations and management, can actually promote the green skills. So it's not just curriculum or teaching, but also through the practice that would help or enable the TVET students for their future employments and enterprise development on how to, for example, waste management. So we introduced the idea through the supervision of ULab, the University of Liberal Arts and Science in Bangladesh, in partnership with DTE and other institutes to kind of initiate how to segregate the waste when there is a particular occupation, occupational work and teaching. And then promoting circular economy based on that segregated waste in the particular area. And also promoting gardening and kind of, promoting the local species of the trees and plantations in the particular institutes. You would know that the DT institutes are really spacious, so that kind of help channel at a practical level. That's the operational area. So if we go to the system strengthening, because we know that UN or ILO in general actually worked on the systems approach. So instead of going for a very granular level activities, what we do is we enable the government to carry forward the good practices. So with the government, most recently, we kind of supported the relevant agencies, BTB, NSDA, and DTE, to complete this guideline for any kind of learning materials for the skills sector that would actually help the technical teams and also the management to introduce green curricula. So it doesn't matter if it's not sector specific, it's not occupation specific, it's for the all learning materials through BTEB and other agencies. This will have a particular component for all the teachers and the technical teams to kind of understand how this particular course or material, learning material, have any green implication or sustainability implications. So I would stop here and maybe give space to other colleagues, if that's okay.
Thank you, Apa, for sharing the information. We have also another panelist from World Bank, and we know that World Bank has done several activities in the skill development. So I would like to request our another panelist, Ms. Joya, almost the same question, that for green energy transition, what activities now World Bank is doing? If you please share some information with us.
It's really great. Before answering that question, I really want to quickly understand who we are talking to. So if it's not too much of an inconvenience, may I ask how many of you are employers? You are employing people on green skills. Do we have anyone like that in this room? I don't think so.
You can raise your hands, please.
Employers. Okay, we have 4 employers, that's good. People from the government representing any policy institutions or any ministry or anything. Do we have anyone like that? From the government? Oh, so you are employing and also you're from the government, interesting. Okay, and how many of you are job seekers in the areas of green skills? Okay. And academicians, I already spoke to one, so yeah, few. Great, I think it's important to have this understanding about the audience, because when we are talking about green skill development, of course it's not a new concept per se, but the way it has broader implications, it only shows that we have to work together. And most of these initiatives need to be led by a private sector, because market decides the trend as usual everywhere in the world, and it needs to be strongly anchored and facilitated by the government with the support from academia, donors, people who are designing the programs to support this in the long run. So from World Bank side, you know, education and skill development is one of the key areas that we have been working on for many years. This is one of the key pillars. And over the time, when we are talking about skill development, we are talking about employability. The key question, even when we are designing programs and when we are working with the stakeholders, is how we are keeping up with the market trend. And to give a very quick anecdotal example here, I'm sure all of you are using LinkedIn, and for most of the green skills related sophisticated jobs, I'm talking about the high skill ones, every year there's this like trend of 12% of growth for the green skills and green related jobs. But that's again at the top of the pipeline. But if you look at the entire chain, from the low skill ones, people who are employed in very emission heavy activities, to all the way to the high skill ones, I think we need to have a coordinated pipeline approach. And each of the stakeholders need to design specific programs that can address problems at each level of that value chain. So to give few examples, I'm not going to talk about all the activities that World Bank is doing. I will specifically talk about 2 things when it comes to green skills. So we, in 2023, we did very thorough research on, to do a bit of like landscaping on what is happening in the areas of green skills. And we identified 9 key sectors: manufacturing, energy, RMG, service sector. Even within service sector, you have ICT, you have, all the other things, banking, finance. And how these sectors are being affected or will be affected, how the dynamic will change in the future when we are talking about green skills. So there are few jobs that need to be completely uplifted, right? You need to replace that, as simple as that. And on top of that, we have to do a lot of reskilling, upskilling. So we identified 3 core layers or 3 different verticals for that skill development. Number 1 is the foundational skill, where students are learning things about the environment, the impact on emission at the school level. And then you go to the technical skills, where the universities, the TVET institutions, the short course, and all of these things, the training providers are playing a big role. And then the third vertical is the managerial skill. And when we spoke to the employers, they gave us a lot of insights, but what they mentioned is that in the mid-management level, they're facing the biggest gap because they are leading that transition. That's where they're getting a lot of graduates, let it be from the TVET institutions or from the higher education institutions. So to address that, first friction point, how do you address the awareness, how you build that capacity of what green skills is? And we collaborated with NSDA and BTEB, of course, to develop a national green skill generic competency standard, right? And the vision is that these competency standards would be plugged in to other ones that they have currently operational, and that will give them a basic framework of how to integrate the concept of green skills across all the sectors, because it's a cross-cutting theme. Right? So hopefully this will be more operationalized in the future. And few lessons I would specifically talk about here. One is that we have to make sure that there is a bit of dynamism in the curriculum itself, because the green skill, it's changing every day. The technology is changing every day. And if it takes years to just even bring some minor tweaks in the curriculum, it really doesn't make sense. So having that flexibility in any kind of competency standard design or any kind of course design, that part is really important. And for that to happen effectively, we need to keep that loop of communication open with the employers from private sector and other sectors, and also with the people from the academia. And on that note, we proposed a few things. We developed this framework, green growth framework, and skill development is one of the core part of it. So I think I would pause here, but the main point I will be trying to focus on in today's discussion throughout other questions is that how we can develop the pipeline, starting from the low-skilled ones to all the way to the high-skilled ones, because the approach for each of that level would be very different, and we have to be really mindful about that. Even when we are designing the program, oftentimes when you are trying to do everything, we just end up doing nothing. So I think for skill development, I think this is one of the core things that we have to keep in mind. So I'll pause here.
Thank you, Ms. Joy. Yes, there is a huge activities are going on, but before going to any more questions to you, rather I would like to know a little bit from BRAC. We have a very familiar face among us, Shumi Appa. She is working for a long duration in this sector. And BRAC is a little bit different in role as an organization other than ILO and World Bank. So on that perspective, I would like to know a little bit, but question is almost similar, that what BRAC is doing right now in this sector.
Yes, thank you so much. Thanks to everyone for listening to us. As you know that BRAC always work for reaches to people in hard to reach rural area. Though we have our local offices, but we also actually have opportunities to work in Chor area, and also as we have provision that we actually can go to many places where other organizations don't reach. So we have that facility to work in skill development, as well as we can actually work in many regions where we can create a scope for training in climate change, and because we are working in climate vulnerable area, and also we are working in those places where actually climate is matters. So how people can actually survive in those circumstances. With that, actually BRAC also working with marginalized people, as well as BRAC skill development program is a little different, because we are actually having different type of skill development. But our BRAC skill development program, we emphasize on apprenticeship program, as well as we are giving the emphasis on classroom training, which is the TVET, which follows TVET curriculum. Other than that, BRAC is doing enterprise training and entrepreneurship training. Entrepreneurship training, through this entrepreneurship training, BRAC is actually bringing entrepreneurs to this climate change environment and other environments, so that they are aligned and they can work better. For youth, actually BRAC have recent last 2-3 years, BRAC is working for their Career Hub project, where actually BRAC is helping youth to recently World Bank was saying regarding the mid-management training and mid-management capacity building, BRAC is working there with their Career Hub. At the moment, BRAC is working in 56 districts with their skill development program. We have our 9 TVET center, where 6 of them are residential. So we have vast program in skill development, and BRAC offers practical livelihood and green skill training. As recently we are actually working in 13 module, where tailoring and dressmaking, mobile operating, furniture making, artisan and craft, also electric and electronics. I was actually fortunately was in the last session for last few minutes. I was listening about that carbon emission and other things. So, BRAC is actually providing the training for electric and electronics by the help of GIZ. That GIZ actually trained that T20 form. So those trainers are coming out from there. They are actually all getting that training. So we will be able to provide carbon free refrigerator and other training. And I think you have one point, brother, that like you was asking that how BRAC is actually helping. Regarding in our training, actually we are trying to give focus on reducing electricity, use solar panel, and incorporate environmental friendly methods, so that in every training they can see that how not to use actually more electricity and other thing. And regarding the woman, we are actually have another cohort for women who can actually work in, we can take the training alone, like without man, and we have a mentor, woman mentor as well. Also to, as you know that from our apprenticeship program, we actually set a woman to the marketplace. So what we do the men member sensitization thing, so that when women are in market, they can work and they can work better. So with this, actually, I am finishing my things, and I will ask.
Thank you, Appa. Thanks for sharing all the information. Now I'd like to move to ILO once again. The thing is that when we started our journey in Skills for RISI, we have seen that the market is kind of project driven. Like in every TTC, they are supported by any development partners. It is kind of supporting, and also we felt that also a weakness, because when GIZ is coming in the scenario and we are developing some curricula, they are not ready to train those on those curriculums because we are not providing any money. So to make this ecosystem sustainable, from your experience, what you would suggest? That how should we approach in future?
Better?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So I'm going to go there, but I think before that it's important to kind of highlight on the inclusion and women's participation part, just
free.
to make it
Yeah.
more, sustainable in terms of the whole ecosystem. So yeah, this is absolutely right that it's very donor-driven or project-driven when it comes to. I just have to hold it tight, I guess. Yeah, so it's very important that we can get out of that system. But before going to that, there is a whole background behind this. First of all, how to make the whole ecosystem inclusive so that it sustains, because sustainability is not an isolated idea, right? It's not just about resource allocation, but also to ensure that the resource benefits everybody that's relevant to that particular ecosystem, particularly when it comes to just transition or energy transition that we are saying. So I will start with 2 to 3 examples that that we are trying to test upon with the support of government and employers within ILO. So first is that we are supporting the Ministry of Education to kind of functionalize and establish a gender and skills task force, which will particularly focus on inclusive agenda when it comes to the skills and overall transition within the job market. So it's not, when it comes to renewable energy, it's not isolated, right? You have to, as long as we treat this as a piecemeal basis, then it won't help, and it would make the whole training, skilling, and employment generation sustainable. So putting that into the mainstream labor market agenda. So from ILO's experience, what we learned from our last 20 years of supporting to the government, that an interministerial agenda or an interministerial approach will actually help the sustainability more in terms of making it more inclusive, not just the transition, but also job creation and leadership of women and persons with disabilities, and also any communities who are from geographical fragile location. So in that particular action plan of that task force, there are 21 ministries and agencies who are accountable to deliver the skills and employment agenda as part of as their role of this task force, right? So one of that would be to make the jobs more, decent and meaningful for women and youth. Of course, youth are at the center of anything that we do. So that's something. You establish a system where the government is accountable, where there are technical working groups as part of the institutionalization process, where the Industry Skills Council could be representing. There should be technical working groups for particular occupations and trade or sectors. And these should not be driven by the project. We need to find out ways and existing resource mechanism within the government or national framework where we can actually place these working groups or the expertise groups, so that on the one hand we have an ownership creation system, but at the same time we also have an accountability mechanism, because it's not enough just to share the resources or just to share the knowledge, but also to have somewhere where these things are reported, right? And there are enough resource allocation for this. So as long as these are part of the existing government approach, but at the same time with the continuing lobbying for the future and emerging markets, then you can, there is a way to kind of, achieve that sustainability. We have seen that for other sectors. So most recently from ILO, we actually launched this community-based tourism initiative with the help of the tourism board, but also with the support from BTEB and DTE as the nodal ministry for this. So what's happening there is it supports the zero carbon emission agenda, because all the jobs that are being created under this particular initiatives are locally driven. So the local Khasi community in Jaflong, they are hosting the guests in their house. They are serving the food that are locally produced, and the local Khasi youth, especially women, because it's a matrilineal society, and the youth from the neighboring communities, they are being trained under the STPs of NSDA on how to serve the guest, on how to, so it caters to the tourism sector. And then these are being connected to the mainstream labor market through, say, GoZayan or other advertisement agencies who works with the tourist, tourism, under the tourism board, or the associations who works on the tourism sector as employers. So connecting these locally led initiatives where jobs are locally created, but also they're being upskilled through the support of the government, not just ILO projects or not just the local organizations, but the mainstream ministries, say tourism board. And then connecting them to the broader labor market. Any foreign tourist from anywhere in the world actually can apply for their stay in these community-based tourism initiatives in Jaflong, right? In the Khasi Punji. So this is the ecosystem that we are building or supporting the government to build, where women will get the jobs, youth will be upskilled, and jobs will be created. And if not jobs, entrepreneurship. We have initiatives like cycling, swimming within the Khasi community, and boating that had zero carbon emission. So all the environment-friendly initiatives led by the local youth and women. So jobs are created, but also under the umbrella of the tourism board. So this is how I think sustainability approach could work. Thank you.
Thank you, Appa. Yeah, so now I'd like to move to Ms. Joya once again. As Mashak Appa was mentioning about the Green Skills Task Force, so I would like to know the view of World Bank about this Green Skills Task Force. That what do you think? Will it be very much impactful, or the proposal you had about the Green Skills Industry Council? I mean, what approach we should follow?
I think, again, there is no kind of like one size fits all sort of approach, but maybe I can share a few examples or case studies on how things are happening in other sector. So I'm also involved in the primary education, and for primary education, it's a huge sector. And we have sector-based programs where we have multiple donor partners, and it's anchored within one government institutions, and you have a visibility about where you are putting the money and where things are changing. So that theory of change is quite clear for everyone, people who are investing and also people who are taking the money to implement it. For the task force questions, of course, it's a coordination mechanism, and I think it's very much needed for any kind of work, and energy is such a key contributing areas of the country. I think it can very much be helpful if we can implement the prior learnings from different projects within that task force. Let's say, to give an example, the ISCs we have right now, I think we have 11 or 13 ISCs at this moment, currently active. And when we were having this stakeholder consultation on whether to have a separate green skills ISC, or how to, just like integrate the practices, concepts, and also different kind of opportunities, because it has to be streamlined, right? And they have been sharing their struggles about keeping this operational, right? Because when you are very much dependent on donor money, when you are not self-sustainable, then how do you actually help the market, right? Drive that growth within the private sector. So I think that mechanism we need to make sure, even when we are talking about a task force, what kind of flexibility does it have, how it will run, and we have to take a long-term horizon in the mind. It should not be just a project and the project is ending and then things are not moving anywhere. And of course, you need champions who can lead that change. And on top of that, we need to have, and that's for any kind of program design. I think at this time, for last 10, 15 years, for any kind of program in the country, in any major sectors, it was mostly about access, how we can increase the access. And I think now as we are also transitioning in the economy, we have to think about the quality too, right? And when we are designing the matrix, the KPIs, I think apprenticeship, job placement, some sort of tracer studies, where these graduates are going, how their career paths are evolving in the future. I think this kind of quality checks and balances and KPIs would be extremely important to ensure the effectiveness of any program and also any kind of collaboration mechanism, task force we are talking about. So yeah, to answer the questions, it's needed, but we have to make sure that it's serving the purpose of the market, because this market is very unique. It's a huge group we are talking about. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. I think that we are also having the same experience. Now I'd like to move on to Shumiapa again, once again, and this time I would like to know a little bit about when we are working with technical training centers in different areas, we found that this is very much dependent on the geographical location also, especially the women participation. Just for example, we can share, we have visited one technical training center in Sherpur, Mymensingh division. The percentage of female students there is kind of compared to Chittagong, the ratio is not same, not even close. The reasons are there, probably they are kind of religional issues, their beliefs, society barriers. There are a lot of challenges out there, and it kind of being changed area to area. So according to your experience, how can non-state actors like BRAC bridge the last mile gap in green skills development, specifically if we focus on the female inclusion for this type of green skills training?
Actually, I was thinking about that you are supposed to ask me this question, but we BRAC didn't feel that much the inclusion problem of women, because we just finished one project which is like 100% woman was there, and now we are doing another project where also actually the mandate is 100% woman. We are actually giving those training which are woman attracted training, though, and also at the same time we are actually doing some non-traditional training. We have a concept that in Chittagong and Cox's Bazar area, women don't come that much. With that note, actually, I wanted to tell you one thing, my one experience, that I was the first woman who was a salesman in Chittagong. So that was one of my experience in 26 years before. And then after 26 years, when I have been to the Chittagong Chowk Bazaar, the same place where I was the only woman, I saw women are in mobile phone servicing center. So these things actually changed a lot, and the experience of BRAC is actually very positive about the woman inclusion. Not in Mymensingh or in Chittagong and Cox's Bazar area, because previously it was a challenge, now it's not that much challenge.
Thank you, Appa. So we discussed about the challenges. So if I talk about the way forward, so I would like to have the suggestions from ILO first, that if we increase the number of trainees, or not only female but also male, in renewable energy efficiency, what kind of approach will be sustainable and also be easily accepted by our communities?
Right. I mean, this is a very tricky area, to be honest, because I mean, I have had the privilege of kind of visiting the technical institutes under BMET or DT, NSDA, STPs, RTOs of BTEP, but the issue here is that the existing trades or existing curriculum, there is still it's a long way to go to kind of attract the right kind of students and then upskilling them or keeping them motivated to stay in the vocational training area, right? And then to pursue the employment or enterprise. And then when it comes to women, you would see that right now it's less than 20% in the TVET sector. And then you add into this dynamics the emerging sectors, that is the renewable sectors, right? And then it's even more difficult. But I don't want to be the naysayers here. So in this current state of condition that we are going through, that we struggle to kind of break the stigma against skills and TVET sectors. We struggle to include students from the urban areas or middle class families to get into the technical education. So these are the existing realities. Actually, we just had this TVET sector assessment study this year. We published and I think we circulated among our partners too. And it shows that even though 20 long years we are here, but still there is this strong components against the Tibetan skills development already. And then you come to the sectors who does not really ensure or guarantee the jobs. That is the renewable sectors, so renewable energy sectors. So what can be done is, I think, first, as the development partners to support the government in the existing frameworks. Say we just have had the TVET implementation plan from the Ministry of Education. So identifying ways to kind of concentrate our efforts so that it's part of the existing policy frameworks instead of just going for donor-driven agendas, or instead of just carrying on the pilots, just finding out ways to concentrate our efforts to mainstream them within the existing policy frameworks, such as the TVET implementation plan, the gender and skills action plan, and all those, and then not limiting ourselves to particular sectors. I know that we have the construction sectors, we have the RMG, we have the particular sectors that we want to focus on, the circular economy for this, but we need to find a way where the whole approach towards sustainability is applicable to anything that we do when it comes to skills and jobs, so that the students are not skeptical about their futures, so that the private sector is willing to kind of co-invest or cost share. So the, say, the industrial attachment models that we promote from ILO, or the, paid apprenticeship model that we promote from ILO, where the employers actually fund the student to learn the on-the-job skills for 3 to 4 months, and then the rest of it is supposed to be paid by the government. So finding out ways to get the employers interested to invest in those particular sectors. And in all sectors, but addressing the sustainability aspect of it could also work. I mean, we don't really have the black and white solutions, but what we can do is kind of think for the long term and not just jump into the wagon that is now, the renewable sector. So that could work, strengthening the public-private partnership, working closely with the employers to create ownership and also accountability. So it's not just resource investment, but also finding a ways to kind of strengthen the collaboration with the government, so that there is a mechanism where the employers know that this is their responsibility too. And at the same time working aggressively on the social norms aspect of it when it comes to skills, so that women are encouraged the environments are safe for them to work outside late at night as an engineer for a solar panel or something. So making things environment safer, working on the social norms so that the non-traditional livelihood is acceptable to the parents, to the potential TVET students, but also strengthening the collaboration by mainstreaming them into the existing framework, I would say. Thank you.
Thank you, Appa. So I would like to move on to Ms. Joya once again. Just referring to the speech from Masheka Appa, she was mentioning some areas of improvement that we can strengthen the public-private partnership. And not only that, there are other areas also to improve, but I would like to know a little bit from World Bank perspective that if we want to actually collaborate with each other, especially the development partners and our implementing partners as well, so what is the World Bank's approach to make it happen? So how do you suggest that we should work together so that we don't waste our resource, we don't do any overlapping work in this sector? Because personally, I have seen that the technical training centers, they sometimes get confused that which methodology we should follow, which project we may run. But we felt that if we can work jointly, probably the sector will be benefited at the highest. So how do you suggest to take this step to work together?
Yeah, I think it's just not your challenge. I think we all are going through the same challenge over and over again. And I think at the end of the day, it's a question of ownership. Who is owning this change, right? Who is anchoring all of these things? Do we have anyone in the room from NSDA or BTEB? Okay, that's good.
Not today, probably.
That's good or bad, I don't know. But the thing is, even when we are talking about specific competency standards or some courses, RPL, all of these things, there are confusions in the room. Who is owning what? Who will be doing what?
Exactly.
So I think that's the first challenge we all need to address, because at the end of the day, these are the programs of the country and government needs to own it. Development partners, World Bank, ILO, BRAC, whoever. Our core objective is to support that development agenda, right? And I think once we can set up that anchoring or set up that ownership mechanism, things are gonna fall into place. That's why we were talking about this national green skill generate competency standard, right? Because if it's being directed from one platform or one institution, they can set up the overall theory of change or overall roadmap for where the sector should focus on for the next 5 years, 10 years. I was talking about the example for primary education. So why not for skill development? Why not for green skills? This kind of thing. So if we can do that, I think that would save us a lot of trouble, because every money we are spending, we need to make sure that it's giving us the higher rate of return. So I think that ownership part, we all need to work together, and also at the same time creating that push from the private sector, right? I mean, we always talk with the employers, but so far I have not seen any employer who does not want good quality workforce for their company. Everyone is looking for it. It's the burning problem. Everyone is looking for good quality employees. But the thing is, how do they do it? Who's going to take it? Who's going to support them? Where are the incentives, right? They're going to do it anyway. But if we can create those incentive mechanisms, I think the coordination part will become much more easier for the low skilled ones, stipend, grants. Even for the grants, people who are designing those grant proposals, because we face similar problems. We wanted to give the money, but the quality of the proposal was not optimum from the institutions, right, where they would work on. So there are these parts where we have to really work on in the future. Of course, all the development partners are up for collaboration. And it's actually easier because the mandates are changing day by day, right? Most of the partners now focusing more on just the financing part, not necessarily on the program development aspect. And that's quite natural, right? Because if we are doing the same thing for 20 years, 30 years, that means the local capacity is not being built, right? So I think other institutions, they can focus on that capacity building side, and some other donors, they can just focus on the financing part. And I think this kind of collaboration can always happen. We have to have the conversation in the right place and with the right kind of tools on who is doing what. And I think with that, it's just a matter of time. Yeah.
Exactly. I would say that's answer of bullseye. Now I'd like to move again to Sumiapa once again, probably this time little bit critical question. As BRAC is very closely working in the field, specifically in the implementation level, so we faced different challenges. One of the challenge was awareness among the trainees. Like for homemaker training or like any textile related training, it's very easy to get women as trainee, but for this type of green skills, it is always challenging. There are so many reasons, but I would like to know what is your natural strategy to bring trainees for this green skills sector, specifically as you are in the penetrating level of the field. How do you do the awareness among the trainees?
Hopefully you are listening me.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. As you know that BRAC mostly work in livelihood training and demand-driven green skill training. So over there actually what we do in our most of the element are incorporated, that renewable energy thing and energy efficiency thing like that. So what we try that in our all the curriculum we want to bring those things so that and the awareness. Recently we have done one project to just only with the awareness, because we work with people with very vulnerable and affected people. So naturally actually we have to give those training that how to mobilize resource and other things. So this is how actually strategically we are doing this training.
Thank you, Appa. So we are almost at the end of our session. I would like to have a scope for having one question from the audience. Yeah, we have a brother here. Please share the microphone.
Thank you for giving me an opportunity. I am Asiful Islam Bhuiya from Public Works Department, 34 BCS. I am doing mainly R&D jobs in my ministry and in my department. And I found something very much interesting, that why we cannot develop ourselves in capacity development issues. When we try to purchase books from foreign country, like its price is $20, to bring it back to Bangladesh, it needs $100 more. Then in equipment issue, if an engineer don't find an equipment, how can he deliver his message to the society? Just $122 PLDC fan I purchased from Taiwan at 2014, one of my close mates, not me, to out it in Bangladesh after giving customs and other issues, he need to pay $1,000. This is the way that we cannot develop in. This is the main issue at tax, at customs, actually customs. And if you look over for other countries, their customs is not like that. I found this is the most vulnerable problem in Bangladesh. Second thing is that now it is the era of AI agent, emerging technologies. I actually know this from atingi.org, your GIZ online platform. Huge trainings are there and all are free. And after finishing that, they provide a certificate. I think that World Bank, BRAC and ILO can work upon this. And third thing is this, 20 years ago, 2001 or 2, I found that at Thailand, they use electrical vehicle. Till now, we are struggling here in Bangladesh. Why? Because we cannot purchase our equipment. We have to purchase it by other ways, other means. That's why I need development partners to think upon this. And another thing you told that, yes, in different sectors, industrial sectors, you need what sort of practical training for students with the employers. I hope so that you have to insert that in also government sector, especially in ministry. They are really negative, especially in different ministries like construction sector, medical sector like this. And World Bank is also performing some sort of internal auditing. They are financing on internal auditing, that how to change ourselves, and it is positive for that. But I suggest that you have to enhance your work in ministry level, one by one. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. So before going to our panelists, I would like just to have a comments on your comments. First, you mentioned about the NBR issue. We'll convey our message to NBR. It's not up to our hand or development partner's hand. And secondly, thanking for sharing the Atingi platform. Yeah, we try to develop that platform and update that platform time to time so that everyone can get the free training there. And the last one about the e-mobility, GIZ is having a project called Trans2Mo, and we are trying to support government for policy formulation, bringing the changes which are needed in this sector, also doing some piloting. But I know that World Bank is also working on e-mobility for some times. If you would like to add 1 or 2 points there, please.
I'll not, yeah, we have some work in that areas, but I would specifically address the last point you mentioned, the capacity building side of the ministry. So all the projects that World Bank has, our counterpoint is the ministry, right? And within ministry, probably one of the departments. And I think capacity building is one of our key mandates. Whatever project we do, we have that component in mind so that the ministry can take it forward in the future, right? Let it be building capacity in terms of human capital development within those organizations, creating the right kind of partnerships, let it be local or international. So it's very much our focus, but again, I personally feel like the kind of capacity building we are doing or the kind of things that are happening, it needs to evolve. And I think that demand needs to come from the other side. I mean, you guys need to tell us, hey, this is where we need the support, can you do this, right? So I think that way we can do things much more better and in a sustainable way. But thank you for the suggestion. Yeah.
Thank you, Appa. So we are almost at the end. But before ending today's session, I would like to say that this is not the ending of our discussion on the same topic. Rather, it's just the starting, but probably next time we will not discuss under this light, rather in a small room, and we'll take some steps for better collaboration among all the development partners and also with our implementing partners. And thanks to all of our colleagues for being patient and hearing us, and of course also the sound system for demonstrating the need of skill development once again. And I would like to request all of you to have a round of applause for our esteemed panelists today present there. Thank you, all of you. Thank you.